Well, thank you, Adam, and thank you, everybody, for sticking. So I'm talking about improving safety and quality of care, and I'm just going to do an introduction of surgical safety technologies. We're relatively young company, so I don't expect anyone to have heard from us before. Before I jump in, I can talk a little bit about myself. I am a pure designer. I went through design school. My master's is in inclusive design, and I work with a lot of hospitals to create a lot of visualizations, network graphs, and also digital products. Through that experience is where I met the founder of Surgical Cell Technologies, Dr. Theodore Grancharov. I met the project that he was doing now 6-7 years ago, and that's the story. Then I joined him, and here we are. Um, so who we are? So SST is a technology company founded in 2014 by Dr. Theodore Grancharov, with the goal of making surgery more transparent, precise, predictable, and ultra safe. Um, we're a team composed of engineers, researchers, clinicians, designers, and data scientists. We have our main office in Toronto. We also have an office in New York City and a satellite office in Denmark. So our big picture goal is to provide a real-time decision support in surgery. This has been Dr. Grancharov's mission or vision for his 32 plus years in surgery. And what is a real-time decision support system? So if I want to use an analogy, if you think about you're driving a vehicle, a real-time decision support system will alert you in unsafe situations. So you turn left, and then there's a little blinker that appears in your car, like a little red light that says, you shouldn't turn left because there's a car on your blind side. That's considered a real-time decision support system. And within the automotive industry, it has expanded and it has become quite in-depth. So that's using a similar concept in which we're trying to use the real-time decision support system in surgery. And there it's very, very complex because anything could happen. We have different treatments, we have infection risks, patient physiology, tool performance, adverse events, blood tests, medication, distractions in the environment, procedure risks, diseases. So it becomes something that everybody has been saying, you can't really understand it. And that's what we aim to tackle. So how to do it? So we knew that the first step was actually to build a platform that measures things objectively and at scale. And the reason why is because when we start talking to a lot of hospitals, all the data comes in a very, I would say, non-clean way. There's a lot of missing data. It's not coming the right intervals, or is all mostly analog, is very objective, and it has a lot of, is very unobjective, and it comes from a lot of recall bias. What that means is that someone in administrations write in a piece of paper, no, this did not happen, or this has happened, or what they could remember. So we knew that we had to build a platform that measures things objectively and at scale. This will be our first and most important step. If we do this correctly, then we can do all the analytic steps. Descriptive analytic, which is what happened in the past. Diagnostic analytics, why something's happened in the past. Then predictive, was most likely to happen in the future. And then prescriptive, which is when we start to recommend to affect those outcomes. So that's what we built. It's called the OR Black Box platform. And what we do is that we capture very diverse feeds. So we capture patient vitals, laparoscopic feed, if they have a surgical robot, we also capture all the feed. Equipment data, this is depending on some type of equipment, more common stapled data. We have access to electronic medical records, inlet cameras, laparoscopic feed, as I mentioned, multi-angle video capture. This is something that we installed ourselves in the ORs, a complete view of it. And we also install a spatial audio capture, which is all the different very advanced microphones that can give you different lobes, different areas in the room. Some of these feeds already exist in the OR. Other ones we installed, and we've also been trying a lot of biometrics feeds on healthcare providers and so on. But those are more research oriented. We bring all that into a hub, and we compose various type of insights. And we have different offerings because it all depends of how our hospital is looking to do it. But these are something that we provide to all our hospitals that have our system, which is we provide safety audits, we provide results optimizations, and we also provide quality improvement. Safety audits are just pretty much ensuring that some of the checklists that they're doing correctly. Before this, there was always a steps of you have to do a checklist to check the checklist. So now we are removing all that. There's no oral systems are omnipresent, so there's nothing from a healthcare provider that they have to click or do anything. Everything is captured by us, and we do all the work. Resource optimization, we're able to see in real time actually what is happening with the procedures. Is this procedure taking longer? These procedures, these ORs are getting more full, and so on. Usually in the hospitals, there's a very specific schedule, but that never goes to our schedule. There's always changes and so on, and all that becomes an analog piece of paperwork, and then that has to go digitized. So we knew that this was not something that we could work with. So this is one way where we can make sure that our data that we're coming is very clean. And the other one is quality improvement, and here's where we use some of root cause analysis, similar to what the black box on an airplane will do. Is that they will reconstruct events or never events, which are events that should have not happened. We can reconstruct them, we can analyze them, and we can present improvement metrics, or just what we can learn rounds to hospitals, and then they can improve themselves and within our network. So just to give you concept of how that is, the most simpler to explain will be safety audit, which, as I mentioned, it's a checklist. We review the checklist, and in the context of a roadmap, we are already now providing very specific information on what is most likely to happen based on 6 months worth of data. And we can tell that there's a low risk level for return foreign objects. In some other hospitals might be a high risk level for return foreign objects. And that's based through all the analysis that we've been doing at the hospital side. So how we're doing, so we have hospitals in the United States, Canada, the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, and Germany. At the early of this year, we secured a 50 million Series A funding, which is something that will help us to ensure we can either capture more feeds and provide even more offerings to our diverse hospitals. In 2022, we expanded to a trauma bay environment because one of our hospitals wanted the same type of insights on the trauma bay. Right now, we're only focused on the OR, specifically laparoscopic procedures, because it gives us the most data. Right now, open surgery is trying to capture the performance is very hard because of the different angles views that encounter, while that's not an issue in laparoscopic. So that's kind of where we started. But in the trauma bay, they wanted to use this technology, so we implemented in 2 hospitals. And right now we're doing a lot of testing, and things are kind of moving forward. And the next year we'll be expanding to labor and delivery services, which again, our hospital was asking for that because there's a great need in that area. So we'll be again deploying our sensorization of the room, how we connect all the different sensors, and using our clinical team to try to give them the insights that they are looking for. We have 100% customer retention, and most of them want to expand, and some of them through different areas, as I explained in our previous point. And studies suggest that our involvement in the ecosystem is actually making surgery safer already, even before our big goal. You can take a look at research.surgicalsafety.com. We have a big list of research that have been published from diverse journals, some of the top journals within the industry. Um, and that's kind of where one of our strengths is that there's a lot of researchers working with our, like, they want our tool to start with some research, and then after they do research, they saw the connectivity that we can bring in, and then they wanted to start expand, and so on. So back to this image. This was an image that when I met Dr. Grandchef and so on, like I was doing some network visualizations for the familiarity within healthcare providers in the operating room, and he was talking about like this concept that he had, of like, this is like, I want a system in which, like, I'm just doing surgery, but if I know, like, through all this very big and ambiguous information that could happen in the patient, that the system could inform me that maybe I should not do a certain step. So we created this graph and this concept, and this is something actually that we always kind of looked at, and we're like, okay, like, how far are we from there? And there's still a lot of work to do, but we know that we're in the right step. Like right now, we can recognize all the tools that are happening inside laparoscopy through machine learning. We can recognize organs, and we can also recognize the amount of blood that happens through a specific cut and how much blood is being lost. So there's like small little wins that we've been doing for our big picture. And while that's like very, very minimal compared to like what we actually have to accomplish to get to that level, being able to capture more data from a lot of hospitals, like that's our big goal right now, is that we need to expand and try to capture the most data that we can, because all this data, unlike other type of industry, it's very hard to come to. You can't find that many specific laparoscopic or something specific surgeries online, or even in like secure researchers. And also the data that comes from so many different color quality, image processing. Like it's very hard to get something that is very scalable, and that's kind of where we are, where we're making that step to make that big picture reality. So one of our challenges that I kind of want to maybe brought up, it's that we work a lot with legacy infrastructure because we have to sensorize a lot of hospitals. Hospitals come in all type of shapes and size. Some are very new and they have their own type of issues that we have to kind of deal with. Some very old, like again, like from a physical infrastructure, provides a lot of challenges for our connect team. But it's also like technology infrastructure. Some use a very type of different technology, or the way the data moves within the hospital is slightly different. And like as I mentioned before, we connect for our data to make sense. We have to connect as much as we can, from HL7 data to EMRs and so on. So there's also some like laws and or like regulatory steps that we have to navigate, and sometimes some hospitals are more open to certain things than others. And one of the challenges is it's culture, the culture for change. At the beginning, when Dr. Grandchef started this, this was something that not many people wanted. Not many people wanted to really understand what is happening in the operating room. And this is unlike, like you have a big company and then you see a need and then you create a product for the need. Dr. Grandchef knew that this was something that was just needed, even if people didn't were asking for it. And that has been, of course, changing with time. Now people are happy when they have our product. They're like, we feel that like this is something that it was needed for a long time. But that's not the case for all hospitals. So when a leadership team wants our technology or to sensorize like 6 of their ORs in their hospital, it's not just enough for them to want it. They also have to be on board, the whole staff. This is from healthcare providers, the nursing team, the anesthesiology team, the surgical team, legal. Like everybody has to be on board, and that's when we talk about culture for change. It's not enough for a couple surgeons or nurses or a leadership team to be like, yeah, we want change, but rather do everybody in the hospital as a culture facility think that we can now move to this step. um, and that's kind of where we've been shifted. Luckily for us, we are in like the top hospitals in North America, so because themselves they are pushing this culture for change, which is a great news for us, and also it's kind of like also it speaks on behalf of them because they already have a processes in place to bring new tools for innovation. Um, and lastly, I'm just gonna end with this graph. So one of the inspirations, and hence the name of OR Black Box, came from aviation industry. So in like the 70s, there was actually not that many air passengers, less than like 0.5 billion passengers a year, but there was quite a big casualties. And if you guys look at this graph, it's always fascinated as how the amount of passengers throughout the years have grown and continue to grow, but yet the casualties continue to um, decrease to almost something that seems like hard to comprehend from any other type of industry. Like it's hard to imagine another industry in which something like this completely opposite graph appears. And Dr. Nasher actually spent a lot of time in Air Canada, and he went to us to a lot of aviation to try to see like how did you guys were able to do this. And one of the a lot of the suggestions that they were saying is that it was the black box. He was able to understand, and he was able to see not only the technical but all the non-technical, and that's why we use microphones and we use cameras. We want to understand everything that happens, the ergonomics of the room. Some rooms are better designed than others, and we can see that when the performance and the non-technical is perfect, but then there's some issues with the ergonomics of the room that could be the tipping balance to for a never event. So only understanding all that, they're able then to tell when something wrong happens in one plane, to send like a ripple effect to the whole industry to say like, don't do this again. And that is something that we are looking to replicate. We want to, if we learn from a hospital, we want to send that same information through all our network of hospitals, in a way making an anti-fragile industry. And that is